reality.
in family court. Mike, your stat is probably correct in this instance. And it kind of sounds like I'm going to side with Asia, but I'm not. This is just my anecdotal experience.
Okay.
Usually in family court, when you are the plaintiff, you are the winner. When you are the defendant, you will defend yourself. So if a man files first, typically as the plaintiff, he has the upper hand typically when it comes to that. To Mike's point, usually women are the plaintiff. So you usually see the women win in those cases. That has been my experience with family court.
Well, that's good. That's good. I think so the question I
Well,
worded it
thank you, Q. That's what I
incorrectly.
was saying.
Huh?
I said thank you, Q, because that goes along with what I was saying. When
Well,
they
you don't have to
go
say it
in a
again.
fight.
No,
But
I mean, let me chime in. So the problem
well, Mike,
is
Mike,
that
before you chime real quick, I just want to clarify, right? Because I don't know if we're answering the question, right? Because visitation and joint custody, I said awarded here in the
right,
in the question here. So
right.
that's a different ball game. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to get to the question. I mean, it's in many states, the even though it's been outlawed, the default is still the woman. Regardless of factors, regardless of income, because the judges will feel like the children will be more stable with the woman, which is not fact-based at all. And so the problem is why do I have to go to the court and through the courts to be awarded custody of my child? Why am I not given it automatically? Especially if I'm the breadwinner, if I really provided the stability in the household, where's it not given the children automatically? Why do I have to be the plaintiff? And that's what the problem is. I think we saw it recently with Keenan. His daughter said something about like, oh, my dad never,
It was
was never
Kel
present.
Mitchell, Mike.
Oh, Kel, my dad was never present, and then it came out later that the father was actually really trying to be present, but the mother was blocking it through the courts. So I can name 5 men right now who will probably be the better parent, but they were blocked by the courts. They went to the courthouse, they went through all these things, and they never received 50% custody. And I think it's a real thing.
So yeah, to that point, because it's based on law, not logic, and that is very unfortunate that does happen in a lot of instances with people who are the better parent not getting that opportunity.
So,
Yeah,
Ham,
that's
what were you saying? I'm confused now. You said you didn't mean awarded. Like, can you clarify?
I did mean awarded. You guys were talking about joint and like visitation.
Talking
So
about
this
like
is
full custody.
this like custodial. So
Yeah.
Mike said it good. Custodial. Men should be the custodial parent.
Yes.
Should we start considering that?
Okay, custodial.
That was better. That
You're
was better.
talking about. Okay.
And
Mhm.
then the idea of going to the courthouse, like think about, when you get a ticket in DC and they say, hey, if you come to the courthouse to defend yourself, chances are you'll get it, removed. How many people will go to the courthouse? Most people are going to just say, I'm going to pay the ticket and I'm not going to defend myself because I don't want to have to deal with that. And so again, it just should not be, I should not have to go to court to have custody of my children.
But you do. You have to. Like, so I want to say like a court ticket, but if you want it, then you have to go after it.
Why? He's saying why, though?
Unfortunately, that's the way of the world right now.
But he's saying why? He's
Right.
saying
Because the law, because we already know the law is
listen to
backed
Mike's
up.
point. But listen,
No,
did
I'm
you
not.
recap his points though?
I'm
He
listening
said-
to his point.
He
Ham,
said
but
the
I'm
man is
saying-
the bread. Wait. Listen. He said the man is the breadwinner. The man can provide a more stable environment. Why isn't it assumed that the child just goes with the man?
I'm agreeing with everything y'all are saying. Like I'm not going against what you're saying, Hamp or Mike. I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is it's an unfortunate and necessary evil. Unfortunately, I'm agreeing with y'all. Like for real. Like don't come at me like I'm being oppositional today. I'm really not. I'm agreeing with you. It's an unfortunate evil you have to do. That's unfortunately the way of the land and the way of the world it is right now, unfortunately. But what I'm saying is men do what you have to do then. That's all I'm saying.
No, I didn't like the way you started though.
Oh, of course you did, because you want to make sure it's controversial. I know.
Well, no, because you said, well, men need to take the initiative and blah blah. No, how about we get what we deserve?
Okay, but you're not. We can have the same conversation about being black and American doing a crime the same as a white person doing a crime. So we know it's not right. So it doesn't matter. We know that it's stacked against us. I'm not saying it's right.
I think the
let me-
difference is that
Yeah.
men aren't empowered to go to court when it comes to their children, right? As soon as issues come up when it comes to children, women are told you need to go to court, get your child support, do what you need to do, blah 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 blah. You birth the children, you are their caregiver. They think society feels it's humane to take a child from their mother. But if we're going based upon the statistics, then if we're looking at stability with housing, income, and all those things, and men are naturally authoritative in comparison to women, then you would think it would be assumed that men are awarded that. But I think the difference is that men are not empowered to go to court. And I do agree with Mike, or I think it was Q who said, honestly, the winner is the person who goes to court first. Period. Because it looks like you've taken the initiative to take care of that child. This is what I really want. I'm going to give them all the love, blah, 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 blah. But I feel on the flip side for men, it's costly, especially if they're the breadwinner. I got to pay for this. If I'm making more money than her, this is coming out of my pocket. If we're going through divorce, I'm going to have to do all of these additional things, and I'm going to have to pay possibly her lawyer fees and so forth and so forth. I do not think that men are empowered, but I think these conversations are important for men to hear and to have. But when you have a group of men in general as a whole who don't go to court, who do you turn to when you're going through something? Because a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to go to court. I'm going to just let it play out. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do what I need to do.
Yeah, I just wish Asia would have implicated the women and said, hey, you know these men are good fathers, right? Imagine how much easier that would be if the woman took the initiative to say, hey, 50-50, custodial, da-da-da, so on and so forth.
Okay, but they're not. But they're not.
But men are fighting for their lives in this court. Mike Brown just mentioned something. It got the word killed it, but I'll put it up here real quick. Remember the guy in Maryland? I think we actually did it as a topic. He spent 50 grand in the courthouse, and then he would end up doing some wild shit, but nothing came of it. You know what I mean? What you think, A?
Yeah, it's hard to get full custody as a father unless you can prove that the mother is unfit. It don't matter if you a better fit, she has to be unfit. So unless she like on drugs or, you know what I'm saying, can't provide a stable house, you just dishing out mad bread now. So definitely fight for the joint. But if you just like, if you going in there thinking, okay, now I need to fight because she need to be with me, because my kids need to be with me and I need to be the primary custodian of my child, you fighting an uphill battle for all of the reasons that y'all name.
Word.
And but we definitely should start considering it, because we do if you look at a lot of couples, they're not couples anymore, but with co-parenting situations, anytime it's an issue, they call it hey, you need to talk to your son, or hey, you need to get your daughter, because boom, 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 and they're looking for us to restore the order. So why not leave them with us so the order could be there with them on a more permanent basis? And that goes to the statistics that the lady was just saying in the thing that Hemp shared, but they don't want to do that. They want to keep them. They want to try to be their friends. Look at all these single moms, best friends and sisters, and want to do TikToks and all of this stuff like they twinning in. And y'all ain't worried about raising and disciplining and preparing this child for the real world at all. But we'll check them. So get these kids to their dads, man. You know what I'm saying? Get these kids to their dads, yo.
I just wanted to hop in on one point that you said, Adrian. I have a friend who had a kid last year, and she was saying, I hate when something goes wrong, they always just call me like she doesn't have a father. She says, I am married. She was like, you can also call her other parent. And that's something that I didn't think about. And she said that they just assume that the father is not active. They assume that the father does not know the information about the child. So I do agree with you. And I've always heard people say, like, I'm going to tell your father, or whatever the case is. But I think it's not even just a court system thing, but I think it's a societal thing where we always default to the mother. And then I also do agree with your point. It's really hard. I very rarely ever seen men get full custody unless they have a huge amount of money, typically in celebrity cases. But on the basic level, you have to prove that the mother is unfit. Like, she is really wild, come with tons and tons and tons of proof. But even then, sometimes that's not enough.
Yeah, they don't even care if they got their own place no more. If they got a room in somebody else's house with 6 kids and you got 2 beds in one room, they don't care about that. They don't care how much the dad got. They don't care if the dad making 6 figures. They don't care none of that. And you living over here with somebody else and can't afford shit, ain't got no job. They still gonna be like, oh well, what makes her a bad parent?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It got to be DCF involved. Somebody called DCF on her ass so they could take the kid, and then you got to go from there to make it. That's the only time it's a little bit simpler for the fathers, is if she in prison, she on drugs, or there's open DCF cases.
Yeah. What you think, B?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say based off the stat from the video that you showed, if it's one stat that stood out was the lady said children that are raised in a 2-parent home, mother, father, or raised by the fathers, that the chances of them going to prison are none, or something to that effect. That's a stat that I like. So I believe that with all the positive that she said with the child being raised in a 2-parent household with the father, if it's going to make a better outcome for the child, I would say, let's start giving it a test run. Let's see how it goes, and then just take it from there. Because my question would be, what would we have to lose? So, based off the information that she said, I say, just give it a shot. I mean, see where it goes. And like the old saying is, if it don't work, let's go back to your old way. But the stats seem to be in the favor for the fathers being better. For the fathers,
better suited.
Yeah, being better suited. So yeah, I say go for it.
Okay. What's up, Ish? What you think?
I agree with everybody. I also think that things are changing.
Wait, we all said the same thing?
Pretty much that dads should be considered for. Shut up, him. But I also think that systems are changing, and they're acknowledging these things, because there are a lot of programs in place like the Fatherhood Initiative and things of that nature. It's just taking a little bit of time, but it's getting there.
Okay. And you have more context than us.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it slowly change?
I do. And like, when I did CPS, we're always told to make sure we contact the fathers. And a lot of time we can, myself included, like I was like, all right, I won't even contact the father sometimes. Because it's just not a first thought to me. So
yeah, there's definitely, Ish moved here, right? There's definitely an implicit bias,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like a subconscious thing.
Right.
Unfortunately. Dana, what up?
Wow. I have a lot of thoughts. But firstly, to answer the question itself, I absolutely do think that fathers should be considered more. But as a person without children, I have so many different, thoughts that are kind of all over the place. My first thought is, I think that the default should not necessarily fall on the mother or the father, that it should fall 50-50. But then I'm like, well, how do you necessarily enforce that? Is it until a parent decides that they don't want to be involved, or the courts deem them to be unfit? I don't know. And then I'm asking myself, well, why are they always defaulting to the women, to the mom first? Is it because we're natural nurturers? Probably. But being a nurturer is not enough to raise a well-rounded individual, which is why you have fathers who have that authoritative side that, everyone spoke of. And so I think the best case scenario, obviously, is to have both parents equally involved. And if that's not in the same household, then they should have the right to, it just defaults to a 50-50 situation until, they don't either want to be involved, like I said, or just are deemed to be unfit. But again, to answer the question at hand, I certainly don't see any issue with fathers being awarded primary custody more than they are presently.
Yeah, I like your. It seemed like you said, the law trumps the logic.
Yeah.
So I think that was a dope saying for sure.
I also think that a lot of paternity for a father is assumed unless they had a DNA test. We know that that's that mom's child.
And I think that's why it automatically defaults to the mom.
I see. I guess that makes sense. Like even when the kids were like in the NICU and shit like that, they obviously have Sharnice on there because they know she in the hospital. You know what I mean? Even though I was there, the birth certificate, it's 100%. I think that's a good point. T, did you have a comment on this one? Terrence, they fell asleep. You have a comment on this one? Nod your head. All right, hold on.
What up?
What up, Terrence?
What's good, man?
Same old business. I'm not in I guess y'all call it up north Family Children Services. Down here we call it Department of Family and Children. And as a teacher, I have seen both sides of it. I've seen where fathers have had to fight for custody. I've seen where mothers fight for custody. I got friends that have, had to fight for custody. It just all depends on what is the best situation for the kid. My parents divorced, and in the custody battle, it was me and my sister. My father wanted me. However, my mother lost both of her parents by the time she was 13, and all of her siblings got split up, and she didn't want to split. She didn't want to split me and my sister, split me and my sister. And I'm not saying that my father wouldn't have been a great provider and he couldn't have did a great job with raising me. But my mother, was hell bent on, look, I'm not separating my kids because of her experience. So, is it always that the father has to be only known as the breadwinner, the disciplinarian? Some fathers are actually amazing nurturers. I can remember my second year teaching. I had a student in my class, and the father actually had him and his little brother. And crazy shit happened during Thanksgiving break. The mother actually kidnapped her two kids. So
was there a custody agreement in place?
It was for where she was supposed to get the kids during that particular holiday, right?
Yeah.
And when it was time to bring them back, she didn't bring them back. So then, it got legal. So, dude was an amazing father. Some of the stuff that I saw him do with his kids was amazing. And mind you, he was a medical doctor. So, you know how you have doctors that got, these crazy 12-hour shifts and all this other stuff. But he was always there. Even if he had to leave the hospital, he's walking in my classroom with his scrubs on. Didn't matter. It was for his kids. So I think now, judges are starting to look more at, who can give them a better holistic experience, who can best raise the child, in all facets, because it's not just going to be about money. It's not going to be about, this parent is going to, make sure there's, dinner on the table every night. It's about, hey, if you can make that kid a better person, male or female, what does it matter?
Yeah, I agree. Interesting. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend. That was a good one. That was clean. I like it. And I do want to say, all right, Adrian, let me end the fuck. You know what? Get him out of here, man. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend. And we out.